What's going on, you guys? It's your boy Mike, and we are back with another episode of Conversations with Mike. And today we are going to be talking about what is the point of serving. Okay, so I know that as many of us walk with Christ, one of the biggest things that we're trying to figure out is, what is our calling? You know, we say, God, what is my calling? What am I called to? Like, what am I called to do? And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, because we all want to know where we're heading in life. But you know, some of us get so consumed with our own life, how we want things, when we want things, what we want. And soon enough, we slip into this place where sometimes we think it's all about us. And for some people, they think it's about them all the time. And you know, a lot of times it's mainly because we live in a society where they tell us, you know, go and get that bag, or they just make you feel like you're not doing enough or you don't have enough. And all of that soon tends to make us self-centered and only worrying about ourselves. But don't focus on what the world says. Focus on what Christ says. Just remember this: as you strive to be like Christ, remember that Christ came to serve. So as hard as it may be to swallow, your first calling, your very first calling, is to serve. Listen, if I can compare back to when Jesus was living and now, and they had a society like us, they would have expected Jesus to have a 12-car garage, a big old mansion, have a whole bunch of money, butlers and maids all over the place. But guess what? Jesus still would have lived a regular life. Why? Because he knew that salvation was the most important thing. It's the thing that mattered. Materialistic things don't matter. And just to be clear, I'm not saying that if you have a lot of money or you're wealthy, that's bad. All I'm saying is that those things cannot save your soul, and Jesus knew that. In Philippians chapter 2 verse 3, it lets us know that in lowliness of mind, to esteem each other is better than ourselves, and to not only look after our own interests, but also for the interest of others. And this verse is just simply telling us to stay humble and not to think that it's all about us or what we think or how we want things or our opinions or our thoughts on everything. And listen, if you're aware that you're self-centered, or you can be selfish at times, or you just don't like to serve, ask God sincerely to touch your heart and help you become a servant. And see, Jesus is God in the flesh. And when he came down to earth, he never said, what can you all do for me? But instead, his words and his actions spoke, what can I do for you? In Matthew 20:28, Jesus even stated that he came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life a ransom for many. So even Jesus had to esteem others better than himself unto the point of death on a cross. So it is important that we serve, because it constantly reminds us that it's not all about me. Unless, you know, you have an ulterior motive or something and you're just trying to be seen, or you just want everybody to look at you and be like, hey, y'all, look at me, you know. So lastly, I want to give you guys 2 scriptures to remember and keep you on track when you are serving. The first scripture is Colossians chapter 3, verse 23 to 24. And this scripture is basically saying that whatever you do, do it wholeheartedly as unto the Lord, because it is the Lord that you are serving and not men, and your reward will come from God. And the second and last scripture is Colossians chapter 3, verse 17. Saying whatever you do, whether it be word or deed, do it as a representation of Christ, giving him all the thanks. So that means as you're serving, you're doing it unto the Lord and not unto people. But not only that, as you're serving the Lord, you're serving him as a representation of him. So now some of y'all are probably like, listen, both of those scriptures sound like the same thing. So I'm gonna give y'all an example. Okay, now for the first scripture, you can serve man and know it's not for men and know that you're serving God. But on the other hand, you can do that, but do it badly. Like, you can get mad when somebody asks you to do something, or get stank, or get an attitude, or be rude with people. That's being a bad representation of Christ while serving him. And then for the second scripture, you can actually be a great representation of him while you're doing things. But When you are serving, you can say, man, they always got me working. They always trying to make me do this or make me do that. Or they always saying, oh, I need help. Nobody want to do this. Your heart can be in the wrong place when you're serving, thinking that you're serving people when you're actually serving the Lord. So that's it for today, you guys. I hope I made it clear on why serving is so important. And until next time, I want to encourage you to always move forward and never backwards.